Salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing a wrap-up of some novellas that I read recently and loved. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about some novellas that I read recently. Just did a novella readathon called the Novellathon with my good friends Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings, Tiffany from Tiff Talks Pages, and Avery from Ava's Romance Books, and it was so much fun. It was literally the best time. We just were unhinged in our live shows. We read a bunch of different novellas. We still have the live shows like up on mine and Tiffany's channel if you want to watch the replay, and it was just so fun. I know a lot of the girls did vlogs, so I will leave their vlogs down below if you want to see what they were reading, and I loved seeing your guys' TBR, and it was a blast. However, I wasn't that good at filming, and I don't have a reading vlog to give you guys because I had a little bit of an endo flare-up. So my week was spent in bed with a heating pad. I have my heating pad literally like right here. Like when I'm filming, I have it right here with my blanket. So that's how most of my week went. So I don't actually have like a reading vlog to show you guys, but I thought it would be fun to kind of like sit down and wrap up the books that I read because I read some really good novellas. So it was a week-long readathon and I read a total of 10 novellas. So I'm going to be talking about all of them today. First up, I read Face Off by Marina Vivancos. This is the second in her Alpha Omega hockey series. And guys, I love Marina Vivancos. That is my girl. Like literally, she is my favorite novella author of all time. Divine River, one of my favorite novellas. Crybaby, one of my favorite novellas. Like she is that girl. You can find her novellas on Kindle Unlimited and they're just so beautifully written, so romantic, just so unique. Like I just feel like she's doing something so special when she writes her novellas. Anyways, this is the second in a series. Technically, you don't have to read the first one, but the first one is pretty amazing. It's a friends to lovers hockey romance between an alpha and an omega. First one, they're both rookies and they're kind of like coming into the team together, and one of them is secretly an omega, but is hiding it because it is an alpha dominated sport, and then his roommate, Levi, his best friend, ends up finding out that he is an omega and kind of like helping him through his heats and helping him keep his secret, and it is so sweet. The second one is Face Off, and this one is an opposites attract, enemies to lovers, second chance romance. So it follows our two heroes. This is a male-male romance as well, and they're two rival hockey captains. The media definitely hypes up their feud. However, what the media doesn't know is that they were also together during their rookie season. They kind of came into the hockey world at the same time, and they had a little bit of a romance, but something tore them apart, and now years later, they're reconnecting. This one, we have an alpha, and then we have an omega who, for years, like his entire hockey career was presenting as an alpha because again, this is an alpha dominated sport and there's a lot of prejudice against omegas in this omega-verse world, and his secret comes out. Someone kind of releases his health records in a really traumatic way, and he's having to kind of navigate that as well as navigate his relationship with our other hero, and it is so cute. I freaking loved it. I love Omegaverse. I love Marina Vivancos. The way she writes her romances, like I said, is just so beautiful and romantic, perfectly steamy, very unique. I just loved it. 5 fucking stars. Okay, the next one I read. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about Jessa Kane for a second? I read When the Farmer Met the City Girl by Jessa Kane, and guys, I gave this 4 stars. Maybe even 5 stars now that I'm thinking about it. I fucking loved it. Jessa Kane is back. For literally months on end, I've been talking about how unhinged, deranged, crazy, toxic her books have started to become, and I still stand by that statement. A lot of her books were, but the last couple of books that she's come out with, I've actually really loved. She came out with a Christmas one called Enticing the Scrooge. Loved it. A Baby for the Boss. Loved it. And now we have When the Farmer Met the City Girl. And I loved it. So this one is another opposites attract romance. Our heroine is a city girl, hence the title, but she was visiting her mom and now she's headed back, and she decides to take a shortcut and her car breaks down in like the middle of nowhere. Literally the middle of nowhere. She doesn't know where she is. She's lost. That's where our hero finds her. She ends up getting stranded like on his farm, and he kind of like takes her back to his farm and kind of helps her overnight. However, the second they meet each other, they're obsessed with each other. Instant attraction, instant chemistry. We have a virgin hero and a virgin heroine, both. They're kind of like exploring that first time together. It's steamy, it's decadent, it's also kind of sweet. Like our hero was the perfect balance of being absolutely obsessed but kind of sweet. Like he was throwing her over his shoulder but asking for her consent. Like it was just It was a good blend. He was unhinged, but in the good way. I love this one. This one was good. We read some Audible originals. Now, I'm not an Audible girly. I'm not an audiobook girly. And I ended up getting like a free trial through Audible and reading a bunch of their Audible originals and really liking it. My attention span when I'm listening to an audiobook is very short. I tend to doze off. But when it's in a novella, I don't do that. So anyways, I read two that I really, really liked. So the first one is A Thief in the Night by KJ Charles, who, by the way, I love KJ Charles. This is a male-male historical romance. It starts with our heroes hooking up in the beginning. And one of our heroes is actually a thief. He like goes to bars, lures men in, and like steals their wallets. And that's what he does. He hooks up with our hero without knowing who he is, steals his wallet, and then disappears. A thief in the night, okay? Then a couple days later, he is trying to get a job at an estate, like an earl's estate, as like a stable boy or like a groomsman or something. He's trying to get a job. And it turns out that this earl is the guy that he stole from. He didn't know he was an earl. He didn't know. And now he's kind of like indebted to him. Earl just recently came upon his title because his dad died. And there's a lot of secrets in this house that they're trying to find. And I don't want to spoil it because it's such a short novella. But it is really cute and surprisingly steamy. Most of the Audible originals don't really go there when it comes to steam. They're usually closed door, which is fine. Everybody has their own preference on like the level of steam that they read. But this one was good. It was really good, really cute. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Next Audible original novella that I listened to was Crimes of Passion. This is another male-male romance, and it's an enemies to lovers romance. Both of our heroes have podcasts. They're like murder mystery podcasts, and they're kind of rivals. They go about doing their podcasts very differently. They're like up against each other for awards and stuff, and they have just been rivals. Until one of their fans passes away. Her mom reaches out to these guys and basically asks them, can you do a podcast together? Because that's all my daughter ever wanted. You guys were, you know, such a happy place in her life. And I just really want you guys to do this. And they end up doing it and working together on this podcast. And it's real cute. What I liked about this one in particular was that you got to see clips of the podcast throughout the series. Like literally listening to them doing the podcast, filming the podcast, plus their romance. It was so fun and unique in that way. This one was closed door, but I wasn't missing the steam. Like I felt like it gave everything it needed to give. I gave this 4 stars. The only reason I gave 4 stars rather than 5 is I do feel like there was unnecessary conflict towards the end. Especially for it being a novella, it was just unnecessary. We didn't need it. It could have been out there. But I did love it. 4 stars. So after I read A Thief in the Night, I was kind of craving some more historical novellas. So I read 2 by Laura Kinsey. Both Sapphic historical romances. So the first one is Worth the Wait, and it follows one of our heroines who is a seamstress. And she does these shows where she works on live models. So she'll like dress and sew like on the live model. She ends up hiring a model for one of her shows and they form a romance. It's a Sapphic romance, age gap, opposites attract. So good, so steamy. Next one is Bump in the Night, and this is another Sapphic historical. I gave Worth the Wait 3 stars, and then Bump in the Night I also gave 3 stars. So solid novellas. In Bump in the Night, it's kind of like a fever dream a little bit. So our heroine is having like some steamy dreams, okay? She's dreaming about this gorgeous woman, and it turns out it's like this ghost in this Victorian household, and they're able to connect through her dream. Really interesting. It's very short, it's very steamy and just fun. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I had another short steamy Sapphic novella, and this was on the recommendation that I got from one of the live shows that we did. Someone said they read this one and I immediately downloaded it, okay? It's called Dripping by Adriana Herrera. That title though is all you need to know. Like it is sexy, smutty, decadent, like it goes there. Sapphic romances, a lot of Sapphic romances, I feel like they can be cute. They can be sweet, they can be romantic, but not a lot of them bring the steam, and Adriana Herrera will do it every time. Yes, she will. It has some like Christmas Sapphic romances that I just adore, and I didn't even know this one existed, so I read it. It's like 30-40 pages. It's like a true novella. Loved it. So it follows our heroine who is a model. She ends up having a romance with the security guard. So the security guard, like her job is to make sure that the models like bring back their jewelry because they're like dripping, hence the title, dripping in jewels and diamonds and like all this stuff. The heroine who's a model kind of like teases her and like runs away with the jewels and like wants her to like chase her, and they have a romance, and it's very steamy, very smutty, very cute. I loved it. It was great. So give this one 3 stars. I liked it a lot. It was super short. It was like maybe 30-40 pages. I could have probably had a couple more chapters. Next up I read Kiss It Better by Casey Mint or Cassie Mint. I'm not sure. Cassie? And this is a dad's best friend romance. So there's an age gap. It's taboo. it's forbidden. Heroine has had a crush on her dad's best friend ever since she became an adult, and now he kind of like sees her that way as well. He is a doctor. She ends up getting injured and going to the hospital, and he helps her, and then from there it like sparks a connection between the two, and they have like a little bit of like a role play moment. Like in this book they continuously like roleplay doctor, which I love. Taboo, but also really sweet. I gave it 5 stars. One of my favorites for sure. Honestly, Casey Mint never misses. I just love all of her novellas. So the last 2 are by the same author, and it was basically our buddy pick. So we ended up reading Cupid's Peak as a buddy pick because this was a Valentine's Day themed novella. I butchered this author's name, so I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna put the book right here. This is a part of her Holly Nights series. So she has a bunch of novellas on different holidays like St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, yada yada yada. This one is Valentine's Day themed, and it is a second chance romance. So our heroine is an extreme introvert, and her twin sister ends up setting her up on a blind date for Valentine's Day. The person that she gets hooked up with is a professional hockey player who she went to school with. She used to tutor him and had the biggest crush on him, but was like never confident enough to go there. And it turns out he also had the biggest crush on her. So now as adults, they're having like their second chance at a romance, and it is so freaking cute. But also it was steamy. Oh, let me tell you, it was steamy. Okay, the kinks, she went there. Okay, if you've ever read Go Deep by Risley Adams and you like that restaurant scene, if you know what I'm talking about, a little public display of affection, you're gonna like this. You're gonna like this. I loved it so much that I ended up reading the 4-Leaf, which is our St. Patrick's Day themed novella. And this is a friends to lovers romance, which is actually my favorite trope. So our heroine owns like this hotel, or like this bed and breakfast. Her parents and her parents' friends actually owned this hotel. She inherited it. So she grew up in this hotel with her sister, another group of kids, her best friend, who is our hero, and he turns out to be like a professional rugby player as well. Always had a crush on him, but in her mind, she feels like he friend-zoned her, so she's never been confident admitting her feelings. But it turns out that he's like obsessed with her, but is kind of afraid that she's not going to be into the kinks that he's into. He has a primal kink, and she's into it. They reach a point where the sexual tension just snaps and they end up going there. The kink in this book is primal kink, and when I tell you it is so sexy, it is so sexy. I loved it. So those were the 10 novellas that I've read in the week. The one that I'm reading right now is Stupid Cupid by Maeve Black. This one is a monster romance that takes place in a BDSM club. Love it. Love the dom sub relationship in here. Haven't finished it, but I'm definitely going to rate it highly because I'm loving it so far. So yeah, if you participated in Novellathon, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you. It was such a blast. I'm so thankful to all the hosts. I had such a great time. If you read any novellas, let me know which ones were your favorite in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!